morning, this is Ms. Billerbeck, and we are going to talk about how to solve systems of equations using graphing. Now, we used standard form equations in section 2.2 when we were learning, and I wanted to show you how to use slope-intercept equations to graph and find solutions. It's much easier. So when we have a slope-intercept form, we have y equals mx plus b. Okay, when we look at that, this is my y-intercept, the b. Y-intercept. Oops, I ran out of room. Okay, so this is the y-intercept, the b. There we go. Okay, the slope is right here. Slope is like the slope of the road. Will your car roll down the road, or the slope of the floor? Does the pencil roll along the floor? Okay, or roll down the floor. So that means that it's got a slope if something is rolling and isn't using brakes. Okay, so now this is showing me a y-intercept. So this is y, this is x. So when I start graphing, I start with this 3, which is where the line hits the y-axis. It intercepts, like a football interception. The ball lands into the football player's arms and intercepts. Okay, so the line lands on the y-axis, and that's called the y-intercept. So this 4 is the slope. So m is 4, and when it doesn't have a fraction, we just put a 1, which means it rises 4 and it runs 1. But wait a second, when we rise 4, it's off the grid. So we can also write this slope as -4, -1, because 2 negatives still make a positive. So now I can drop down and do a slope triangle of 1, 2, 3, 4, and a -1. So I dropped down -4 and I went over -1. And that gives me my second point. Now we only need 2 points for a line. So then we can draw a line. And you can use any straight edge available. Gotta learn to be resourceful in times like this. Okay, so the next one, we have a y-intercept at -2. So I'm gonna make some room here. So right here, I have -2. And my slope for this one is -1. So m is -1, which is really -1 over 1. So it's rising -1 and running +1. So we can see right there where it's going to intersect. All right, so the solution then is right here. So our solution is at, it looks like -1 and -1. Okay, if we drew our lines nicely, it's -1, -1. So we can check it really quickly. 4 times -1 is -4, plus 3 is -1. -1 is 1, minus 2 is -1. So that checks. So that's the intersection. All right. So when we actually have fractions, they're a blessing when we're doing slopes, because it's telling us our rise and run. So again, we're hitting at 3, but this for the y-intercept for this first one, but the slope, we're rising -5 and we're running 3. So the rise is -5 and the run is 3. So we rise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, but +3 over. And that gives us our second point. So now we can graph that line. And the next one we start at -3, and its slope is a 1/3. So we rise 1 and run 1, 2, 3, and look, we have the point of intersection right there. Okay, so our solution then for this one is going to be at 3, 1, because the x is coming down from 3, and, oh, sorry, that's not 1. It's -2. So then it's -2 on the y-axis. And remember, we always put the x here and the y here. All right. I want to go over how we graph lines that are not with this. So we have y equals -1. Well, what that means is y equals -1. But y always equals -1. And it equals -1 here, and it equals -1 there, and -1 there. So y is always -1. And it does not matter what x is. So we have a horizontal line. As much as we want to make it a vertical line, y equals -1 is a horizontal line. Okay, so if you forget, remember, if it says y is always -1, just keep putting dots at y is -1. And then you'll remember that it's a horizontal line. So this one we start with 4 for y-intercept. And we have -5/2. So we drop down 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we move 2 over. So we intersect right there. Okay, so that slope was a rise of -5 and a run of 2. All right, so when we do our intersection, he's right there, so we know that the y had to be -1, but the x was up in the air. What was it? So the x happened to be at 2. So if we check it, -5/2 times 2 is -5. -5 plus 4 is -1, and it checks out. Okay, here's the last one from this page. So again, we start with the y-intercept, -1. We rise -1, which is a dropping down, go +2. And if we are not really, we can keep doing the rise -1 and get a few more points if we'd like. And then it looks like if we, well, then we can just draw the line. Okay. Let's just do it. You really only need 2 points, but the third point sometimes helps you out. So then we go down to -4, and we're rising 1, and we move 1, 2, 3, 4, and we see the intersection right there. We draw a line, and our solution then, see how it's dropping down from y is 4 and -3. So our solution is -4, -3. Okay, and so that's how we graph with using slope-intercept forms of equations. So remember, y equals mx plus b is a slope-intercept equation, and it's fabulous to use for graphing. Okay, that's why we like it. We like it so much because it's so easy to graph. All right, that's it for today. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.